Good evening. My name is Samuel Edwards, and I'm a digital marketing strategist and contributing columnist to Inc. Magazine, Entrepreneur, and Business.com. And as a digital marketing strategist that's worked in New York City, a question I generally get asked is this: is it anything like Mad Men? And for those who are fans of the show, I hate to ruin this for you, but ad agencies are almost nothing like that. Especially for someone like myself who has the advantage of working from home on the daily basis. More often than not, pants, those are totally optional. So thank you, TEDx, for making that a requirement for this, giving this talk today. This is the first time all week I've put on pants, so thank you, and you're welcome. But all kidding aside, in my line of work, what I get to work with is data analytics, statistics, and ad variations to help better understand how users are using search engines. And one of the cool things about working with search engines is all the data that's available to you that most people don't have access to or get to look at. So let's take a look at a fun example here. Kim Kardashian, we know her name. How often do you think it's being searched per month on Google? Do you think it's A, 50,000 times, B, 750,000 times, C, 5 million times, or D, over 10 million times? So the answer is actually D. On average, Kim Kardashian's name is being searched 13.6 million times on Google alone. That's crazy to think about, isn't it? So while this is some fun examples of some fun data that I get to work with on a daily basis, what I want to focus with on this talk is instead about 3 major learning opportunities and learning takeaways that I've had in my short career as a young entrepreneur. And the first is simply this: you can't let your ego be your downfall. When I was starting out in marketing, and like a lot of young people who enter the workforce, I had this mentality that I was hands down, wherever I went, the smartest person in the room, one of the best marketers in the country, and that I was being paid 10 times less than what I deserved. And it wasn't until I started working on a campaign that I had a realization of otherwise. So I was working on a campaign, and the objective of the campaign was to create specific ads to help decide and figure out which one's going to drive the most sales. So I had done campaigns like this before. But right before the campaign launched, my boss recommended that we try some ad variations that were completely different than the ads I had created. Now, being my boss, I had no option but to go ahead and do that. But in my head, I couldn't help but to think that we were wasting time, energy, and resources on something that I knew was going to be a failure: his ads. Of course mine were going to succeed. So 2 weeks into the ad campaign launches, the data starts rolling in, and something becomes clear almost immediately. And that was, I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Nearly every single one of the ads that I had created failed. The only reason the campaign somewhat succeeded was from the recommendations that my boss had given me. And so this realization came over me, and it was simply this, and it's a shocker. Get ready. I don't know everything. And you know what? You don't either, and that's okay. Life's a continual learning experience. The problem with having an inflated ego is that when you think you know everything, you will fail to learn anything. So you have to be willing to put aside your ego and understand that the recommendations and tips that are being provided to you are meant to help you grow as an individual. So the priority number 1 has to be listening. So the second thing I've learned up to this point is about limitations, and more specifically, self-imposed limitations. And these are excuses and things we say for why we're not going after the things we want or want to do. We say things like, oh, I would, but I just don't have the money. Or I would, but I just don't have the skill set. When in actuality, it's not about the resources you have, it's about the resourcefulness of you as an individual. When I was in college, I was frustrated, extremely frustrated, that I was paying for these classes where I wasn't learning anything that I particularly cared about. So I made the decision to drop out. And when I dropped out of school, I turned to the almighty search engine and began searching for things that interested me. I started learning marketing tactics and strategies that way. And that's actually how I got started with my career. So you have to understand that with all this data that's available to us today, it's interesting that with access to all the search engine data, I find that more people are searching for things doing with entertainment than anything that could help them better themselves as a person. And a good example is this. Now, Cute Puppies is being searched 201,000 times per month on Google. I know I'm personally responsible for about 400 of those searches, but that doesn't explain the other 200,000 plus. So it's about being able to use the resources that we have the most efficient way. And the second thing I've learned in regards to self-imposed limitations is one that I admit that I actually use myself, and that's the time limitation. And the time limitation is the one where we use time as the excuse for why we're not going after the things we want and why we're not able to. We say, oh, I have a job, I have kids, I have a girlfriend, I have school. There's just not enough time in the day to do all the things that I would like to accomplish. And so for me, I would use the procrastination limitation. I would say things like, oh, I'll get to it one day, or someday I'll get to it. And here's the thing about that. There are 7 days in a week, and someday isn't one of them. So for me, I had to prioritize what I wanted in the future over what I had now in order to get where I wanted to be. So you have to simply ask yourself, where you're at, what you're doing, is this what you want to be doing? Is this where you want to be? And if the answer is no, you have to prioritize and really decide what the important things are that can get you to where you want to go. And it's not an easy process. It's extremely scary, and it's extremely frustrating, and there's 0% that there's going to be guaranteed success. But here's the thing. If you want something in life, you have to risk it to get the biscuit. And the third thing I want to share with you that I've learned up until this point as a young entrepreneur is this. It's about opportunity. And it's simply this. Opportunity is not something that is just going to fall in your lap. It will seldom fall in your lap throughout your lifetime. So if you're waiting, I'm sorry to say you're going to be waiting a lot longer. So for me, before I started writing for Inc. and Entrepreneur magazine, I didn't have these reporters or editors or publications reaching out to me, begging me to write for them. No, I loved reading those publications. So what I did was I found out who the editors of the publications were, got their contact information, and then after months and months of going back and forth with them through email, giving them free writing content, in the hopes that they would let me become a writer for those publications, I was finally accepted. And so if you want something, you have to go out and grab it. It's not just going to be something that's waiting for you there. And so I hope you realize that the major takeaways that I've learned so far in my life can also be applicable to you. So think about it this way. It's not that I am my greatest opposition, but I'm also my greatest ally. And to leave you with a quote from the poem Invictus, "It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scrolls. You are the master of your fate, and you are the captain of your soul." Thank you, and I hope you find what you're searching for. Thank you.